And welcome to our February edition of Sports Highlights, our anniversary show since February of 1992. The math, that's correct, 32 years. It's a pleasure to have been doing this show for this long, 11 times a year, produced right here at the Telecom Center. And our program airs on Mondays at 7, 2, and 7, weekends at 9 a.m. on Cox Cable 47, 517, on the website on nnpstv.com, YouTube, and all the social media platforms. It's a privilege to talk to Jeff Carr, the Norfolk Admirals head coach. Jeff, good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Greg. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Tell us about your background. You're from the Midwest, of course, and that's big hockey town.
Yeah, it's actually it's a pretty big hockey state, and I'm from Eagle River, Wisconsin, where the Hockey Hall of Fame is actually located in our town at our rink. We play in a rink that's about 80 years older than the Norfolk Scope, if you can believe that.
Wow.
It's from the early 1900s. It's a wooden cylinder dome. It's one of the two only landmark wooden domes left in the world. So I lived 1.3 miles from there. You can do the math on the way I grew up and literally living at that rink and then seeing, the heritage and just the tradition coming through that city and that rink.
Absolutely, and the Scope has got a lot of tradition too. Yeah. Back in the day, they've had basketball tournaments. The Squires have played there, so I guess that's the Mecca. Yeah. That's young compared to where you've been.
It is, but it's Scope's obviously bigger than the rink that I grew up in, but it's the same exact feel with that kind of cylinder dome. You can just kind of feel it when you drive into the Scope. You drive into the rink where I grew up. It's the same. I don't know. It just gives you chills, to be honest.
We're talking to Jeff Carr. He's the Norfolk Admirals head coach. A long history with the Admirals. They played the AHL before, and of course they've had a lot of different coaches as well.
Yeah, it's been a storied franchise. I think from the day that the owner Blake Cullen brought it in, obviously had great pedigree with the Chicago Cubs. He probably tried a business/fun hockey in the East, and it just worked. He got John Brophy, obviously a legendary coach that, needless to say, if people watching the show don't know much about hockey, probably the toughest. He was a character. He had the gray hair, but he was all guts and winning and kind of that Mike Ditka mentality times 10, right? So he fit this city. I think he gave that a really good kind of mold of what the Hampton Roads area is going to be, winning and toughness. The fans followed suit, and then it goes all the way into the American League when John Cooper, before he left for the Tampa Bay Lightning, culminating in sellout crowds and the all-time biggest, 28 winning streak. So you come in as a coach, you know all that history, and just very fortunate to be a part of it, to be honest.
Yeah, and of course this team has won championships in the past as well.
Yeah, I think a couple in the 90s, and always in contention for about a decade. I think they washed up just a little bit for some different owners, different league transition. And then, like I mentioned, with the John Cooper era in Tampa Bay, Breezeball as the GM, they win and then put it back on the map. And I truly feel for the last, say, 10 years, there's just this starvation of winning that's wanted from this fan base in this city, and they've been let down over and over. And that's where I feel really lucky to come in and do what we're doing this year.
And you look at it from an entertainment standpoint, Virginia Beach has got the oceanfront, Norfolk has got the Tides and the Admirals. Of course, Williamsburg has got a resort community there as well, but there's really something for everyone in Admirals game. You guys cater to young and old and kids as well.
Yeah, we have a group, my wife and myself have been here just over a year and a half now, so now we're finally feeling like we're touching into those tentacles of, the community actually feeling a part of it. And I get it every day. It's, my kid went there, or the birthday, or, a corporate event down by the pub area, the season ticket holders. I feel like it's a 360 kind of circumference feel of everyone getting what they want. And then, if you have a good product and winning, it goes hand in hand. Right,
it really is something for everyone. And of course, the Admirals, skate. You got to be in good shape to skate. Yeah. Talk about your team, your roster, and who stood out so far.
Well, I'll make it simple. Like there's a big picture, which is we're trying to remove the stain of 10 years, rebuilt to new affiliations with the Hurricanes, with the Manitoba Moose and Winnipeg Jets as our primary. We went for broke last year in a rebuild year and sold basically our whole roster to get upgrades, kind of like the Cowboys did in 88, 89. I think there was 95 names on that board when they did that. We have the same thing. So now our roster was built on a lot of talent from the upper leagues, quality acquisitions in the offseason, and then a whole summer to recruit. And now we're right in the thick of it. We were in first place a month ago, and then we lost one goalie to the Spangler Cup. Our other goalie is currently playing for the Carolina Hurricanes in the NHL. And then we lost 5 forwards in the same week. So we're on a really, really tough stretch where our power play, and we just couldn't score goals. Touching on players, we have Matthew Ah, our captain, Carson Musser, our assistant captain, and then Danny Caddick just got named assistant captain. Those three kind of in their own ways. Matthew was kind of at the end of his career. He's 37 years old. He really wants to win on his way out. Danny Caddick and Carson Musser on the younger side, they're kind of on the new rebuild process for us.
Right, in practice, you guys practice at the Scope, but you also practice at other places too. And that's important in between a heavy schedule.
Yeah, it's massive. It's 72 games preseason. We have playoffs, obviously. If we enter in that, that's 4 rounds. It's around 100 games with everything, and on top of the practice and then the flights, we fly to Newfoundland. That's 3,000 miles away. We fly to Utah. We're in New York. We're a little of everywhere. So it's attrition at its finest. We don't have the sleeping pods like the good old NFL does. So finding rest, finding practice time, and then health, and it's paramount at this level.
It really is. There's a heavy schedule. It's an intense schedule, especially during the winter months too. But you guys are really fan friendly. You got weekend games. Of course, you have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday afternoon select games too as well.
Yeah, I think the Sunday was a really good thing that our organization did. Patrick and Anita Kavanaugh, our owners, they've really springboarded everything into action this last off season, and they keep pushing the envelope on, they want to match the front office and the fan base with the hockey ops and what we're doing on the ice. And when you have that and you have the support from them, and then that in lies goes to, 6 Sunday home games, right? 3 on the road, 3 at there. So that allows for football's kind of dwindling down now, and now there's nothing to do. Now you have a perfect event on Sunday.
Yeah, of course. And hockey is local. People have to eat. People have to be entertained. And what a better place is. It's a consistent place for sports and entertainment to see an Admirals game.
Yeah, it's just like we said. I think the product winning, and then the front office does such a good job with promotions and making feel like the goal for us is if you should come in. You're kind of intrigued, you're a little bit interested, and the time you leave, I have to know when we're coming back to an Admirals game.
Right. Oh yeah, once you go, you're stuck. You want to go back. Great cult following over the years, and different schemes and different colors of the uniforms, but let's talk about the uniforms home and away.
Well, yeah, and a lot of teams have been carrying a third jersey. So we have our blue one, we have our white one, very, I wouldn't say vintage, but just simple, clean looks. And then you got the yellow one, which is a huge fan favorite. It's got the 757 area code on the front. I think that really ties in our players because they have no idea what 757 is, and like myself, when you're new, and then within a couple months you get a feel for it, and then you almost get wrapped in, and then you want to be a part of the community. So it's good.
I like that because back in the day, this area code used to be 804. Now there's a 948. So area codes, and people are moving all the time.
Sure.
You know that. You're from Wisconsin.
Sure.
Nobody rarely has the same area code unless you're like me and you grew up here. But it's still, this is 757. It's been Gloucester's 804 and Richmond's 804. So it can stretch. But you talk about it really does take a full team effort with your staff. I see them in the concourse level doing promotions. So while the game is going on, there's great concessions and other things going on as well during the intermission.
Yeah, it feels like whether it's a city series or something from a different group singing the national anthem to in-game promotion, it's a one-stop shop. You're going to get 3 hours of entertainment with us.
You really are. And you can talk about your back to the ice as far as when do you know when to make subs, talk about a power play, and obviously penalties are going to happen, but what is your main focus and how much scouting can you do before you play an opponent?
Well, a lot of questions there. You sound like me right now. I like it. I respect that. Let's go, each bucket. So pre-scouting's changed a lot with video. The days of VHS, those are out. We have Instat. We still clip games, but there's games that are being clipped overseas. So we already have, say, we play Newfoundland Friday. I know everything of every game basically in the season. It's what we want to compact as a group. Pre-scouting is huge now because you know trends of what they're trying to do on the power play. So going into your second question, power plays, when you have the man advantage or two-man advantage for a penalty, that's when you're going to get most of your offensive zone time, your best players on the ice trying to score. So that's probably been the main reason throughout the last 3 weeks that we went from first to 2 points out of second, is because our power play wasn't clicking. That's a huge, crucial part of the game. I would equate that for football fans of the turnovers. You can't, if you turn over the ball 3 times, you don't get any, it's going to be tough uphill. Another question, and just kind of, what you can do within that whole picture is subbing guys. You have to know your group, but your group changes, right? So if you have an older guy with a nagging injury, he might be great the first month, but you got to be very honest where he is now. The same thing with the young guy. You see a young guy, he might have success for 10 games. He's leading in scoring, and now the dog days are hitting. They're getting targeted. They're going to try to fight him. If you're not wired that way, you can disappear really quick in the game of hockey. So it's a mind game. It's a violent, combative sport. It is what it is. All of that factors into pre-scout and game planning, and you're crazy if you don't, and you'll lose if you don't.
We all have frustrating days, so I guess it's good to take it out at a sporting event.
Yeah.
But hockey's part of fights, whether it's the NHL or minor leagues.
Well, I mean, it's grown men flying around the ice on metal blades with sticks. If you didn't have fighting patrolling it, it'd be 50 times worse. So fighting, I know a lot of people have their viewpoints on it. I think, like anything in common sense, watching any sporting event, when people take things too far, one way or not, maybe that's your team identity and then you're just a sideshow. I think hockey, for the most part, has lost a lot of fighting. It's going to continue, but fighting is still needed in the game to get a rise out of guys, to protect your goal scorers, and it patrols the game.
Give us a reset real quick. Tell us the league. How many home games do you play throughout a year? And, of course, road games and also the postseason.
Yeah, so we're the East Coast Hockey League. It's one step up is the American League, which would be like AAA baseball, and then the National Hockey League. A lot of our guys are trying to get to the NHL in the next 3 or 4 years. A lot of them are getting called up to the American Hockey League. 36 home games, so 72 games. You're playing in your division. We have 7 teams in our division. You're going to see those same common opponents anywhere from about 9 to 14 times a year. Comprise that times 6. You're at about 50-odd games, so that remaining 20, you're going to play best of 2 or 3 game series with, say, 4 to 6 non-divisional opponents.
It's a big networking circle. A lot of these coaches, you know them from the past, so when you see them at a game, it's like, oh yeah, I remember you from back when. Maybe somebody was an assistant coach of a friend of yours.
Yeah, I remember when you got fired and I got fired, and we all, it's a hire to fire business, and it's so true. The guys that can really withstand the coaching brunt and keep staying with it, it's those are the ones that have to. But you have to win. If you don't win, we don't have jobs. So you got to find a way.
Do you like living in Hampton Roads?
Absolutely love it. Yeah, my wife Ariel and myself came in. We sold our home in Knoxville, Tennessee. Very fortunate to work for an awesome ownership group, and Mike Murray and Dave Feather that were nothing but great to us and our family. And Norfolk was kind of on the outskirts looking in, and it was, like I said, it was not had a good name the last few years. Got a call from the league, and the next thing you know, go from assistant to head and coach, and just that's where my comfort level is. And we're trying to do the impossible here, and we're right in the middle of it. Like I said, 2 points out of second place. Had a great first month and a half, a really rocky last 3 weeks with all the player attrition. And this is kind of the tipping point of our organization for probably the next 2 or 3 years.
This is your full-time career. How many years have you been an assistant, and how many years have you been a head coach?
Getting paid and to be a true top junior pro coach, I've been doing this for about 12 years now. I got into coaching when I was 21. I'm 39 years old, so this is my 19th year of coaching. but like I said, 12 for a full-time job. Been an assistant for 2 years and a head for the other 17. So I like learning. I spend a lot of my time picking people's brains and nonstop questions in the off season and doing everything even in season. Very particular guy, but the only reason I'm particular is I know how much learning and how much self education I'm trying to do outside. Like, I definitely don't have even a quarter of the answers, but I know what I want, and that's how we're going to operate.
Yep, and that puck can fly. So you got to tell fans that have never been to a hockey game, it's not just like a golf ball where it's stationary on the putting course. It can fly.
Yeah, it's movement. The saying that I heard about 10 years ago is hockey is islands of order in a sea of chaos.
There you go.
And that's exactly what it is.
All right, Jeff, all the best to you, my friend,
Thank
for your
you.
time, your
Appreciate
talent,
it.
and your treasure. All the best to you and the Admirals. A great tradition, folks, in Hampton Roads for several decades, and they do a great job with Jeff and his great team. I want to thank Andy from the Norfolk Admirals as well for setting up this interview. So stay tuned for our next guest right here in our February edition of Sports Highlights.
You're watching NNPS TV. Catch sports highlights on Mondays at 7, 2, and 7, and on Saturdays and Sundays at 9 a.m. Visit us online at nnpstv.com to view all your favorite episodes. NNPS TV, watching education happen.
I've been rising up and advancing in my classes.
I've been rising up to be the best student athlete I can be.
I'm rising up as a leader in my school.
I'm rising up to prepare for my future career.
We are all rising up and preparing ourselves for success, thanks to our dedicated teachers and staff in Newport News Public Schools.
Rise up!
And welcome back to our second segment of our February 24 edition of Sports Highlights. Greg Bicodaris, glad you're with us for our show right here on the Newport News School System TV channel and all over social media. It's a pleasure now to talk to our second guest, Dale Lamb, the head softball coach at Denby High School. Dale, good to see you.
Yes, sir, Greg. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. You went to Jamestown.
Yes, sir, I did. Grew up in Williamsburg, not too far from here, but I have strong Newport News ties as well. My mom and all of her sisters and my grandparents, they went to Menchville High School, but they still live in that area, so a lot of strong ties.
So how did you get involved in softball?
So the way I got involved in softball was I really just wanted to coach as a younger teacher. Just wanted to get involved in some way, shape, or form. So we just happened to have I had a JV assistant job at the time with Coach James Smith, who's still a teacher at Denby. But so I became his JV assistant for a year, and then he decided it was time to move on to other things, and then so I applied for the varsity coach, and here we are.
You're one of the longest tenured coaches at Denby now. I mean, you've coached more than the football coach has, the basketball coach. You've been around for a while there.
Yeah, I've been lucky to be with our student athletes for a while and build them up through a lot of ups and downs, especially through the COVID season. I'm sure you know a lot about that as far as the COVID went. But yeah, it's been fun, and Denby's the first job I've ever had, but I love it. So.
How exciting is it this time of the year? It's February now. Practice is started, and of course, let's talk about some of the dates and, of course, the first game.
Yes, sir. So really exciting. Games will be coming up here soon. We start around the 19th of February. That's when the season gets underway. It's President's Day. We have the day off from school, so we'll be hopefully nice and rested for that first day. And then our first game, official VHSL game, is March 12th. We'll be playing Phoebus. And then we also have a couple scrimmages lined up. Late February, we'll be playing Churchland, a rematch of a playoff game last year, actually. And then we'll be playing Lafayette as well from my Williamsburg days, so I have some ties up there.
Talk about your JV coach.
So yeah, my JV coaches, they've been godsends to me as far as helping build this program. Megan Kearney is our head JV coach, and then Stephanie Blackmore is our assistant. And they've been with me. This is their 3rd year, and it's no secret that we've been starting to see a lot more success as a program since they've been on. They've been doing great jobs with recruiting the girls and building that fundamental level of the fundamental understanding of the game that we didn't have before. And now we know we have a JV team, we know we have a JV coach, so now it's a lot easier to recruit girls to come play and give it a try. And then they build up, so by the time they come to me on varsity, hopefully they're maybe sophomore, junior, senior year, they're ready to roll.
And you got triple purpose, I call it. You there to teach the kids social studies. You are a head softball coach, so you got a double purpose for yourself to have the best in academics, athletics, and activities, and you're fulfilling that as a teacher and a coach.
Yeah, thank you. Like I said, it's just a lot of fun. Coaching is something that's extra. I always say I get to coach. It's not really a job. It's not an obligation. I love coaching those girls, and I'm blessed that we have just a great group. Academically, I mean, their grades are phenomenal. I rarely have to say much as far as their grades. Like, we don't even worry about the minimum requirements because we meet those requirements without even having to blink.
Absolutely. And of course, you talk about when practice goes on to make the team. You don't make any cuts. So how do you know who's going to play in each position? Of course, you've been there 6 years, but let's say this freshman comes out of nowhere who plays in a lot of summer leagues and who's an excellent pitcher and first baseman. How do you determine who's in what position, who makes the final call?
Absolutely. So that's a lot of good questions. So as far as the players, when they show up, we kind of just evaluate where they are and we look at their physical skill sets. And we see, someone might like to catch the ball in the air, for example. So then we try and transition them to an outfield position. And then if they're more comfortable with the ball on the ground, maybe they have a big arm and they're quick on the transition, we look at an infield position. For pitching, anybody that wants to try, we let try. And so we try and work. We were talking before it started about how important pitching is in the sport. So I never want to discourage anybody from pitching. And then as far as, like you said, for your example, if a freshman comes up that can play, then our girls know that we have a healthy, competitive mindset, but we also know that we want to make the team the best that we can make it. So if a girl's the best 9, she's the best 9. So we don't discriminate based on freshman, junior, sophomore, senior. If you're one of the best 9, you get to be on the field.
And tell the public the best 9 is the 9 starters.
Yes, one of the 9 starters in softball, and you could have 10 if you have a designated hitter, DP, is what it's called in softball.
Yeah, how do you know when to do a relief pitcher? How do you know when? Can you tell by their eye contact, the fatigued? How can you tell?
So yeah, it's a lot of feel, and then my girls we're good at two-way communication. So sometimes they'll just tell me, "Hey, coach, I'm gassed. Like, it's time." But a lot of them, when the game's close, they don't want to come out. So usually it's just when you see them kind of giving up, when their mechanics are starting to go, and when you see that they're in danger, like, I don't want a girl to get hurt. So then that's really when it is. Rarely this happens, but just poor performance. Sometimes you have to take a pitcher out and put a relief pitcher in. But I'm very, very confident in the pitching staff we have this year. So I'm very excited to watch them pitch.
Absolutely. How many softballs do you go through during a season, practicing at home, and of course during game day, normally at home or on the road?
Right. So for the games, we have 3 game balls that we usually go through, and so 3 or 4 of those in a game. And then during the season, man, we have different buckets. So we have hitting balls, fielding balls, and then just miscellaneous balls. So, but yes, we can go through. We usually try and buy about 4 or 5 cartons a year of brand new ones.
That's great. And mostly yellow softballs. I've seen white softballs too. What do they play with the most? Yellow, I assume.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we all play with the yellow softballs. And the only thing is they can't have like anything yellow on their throwing hands to distract them.
Right. When you watch an NFL game, you're a big NFL fan, you can see the players with the yellow shoes, the yellow rags, and they even got that confused the other day with a yellow flag.
Yeah.
So you're right. Uniforms are very important.
Yeah, uniforms are very important. I think we have a very cool set of uniforms on our team. Me and the girls like to kind of go back and forth, especially on picture day, of which ones they're going to take their team picture in, because I'm usually a fan of our one that's a little bit more monochromatic, as they would say. It's more like kind of navy on navy, but they like our white jerseys better, but I like them both. So
Yeah, and dark colors are better on TV anyway. So, very good. What advice would you give to a young girl that wants to play softball?
So to any young girl that wants to play softball, the biggest thing that they have is fear of the ball. And I would just say that that ball is only going to hurt you if you allow it to hurt you. So we got to get rid of that fear as quickly as possible. That's always goal number one, is just to get rid of your fear of the ball. And then there's also, like, we give a lot of girls headgear that protects their face, and usually that helps because you're afraid of getting hit in the face. It's one thing to get hit in the chest, another to get hit in the face. So I just tell them, don't be afraid of the ball, step to the ball, and just, if you go get the ball and don't let the ball come to you, usually you learn pretty fast.
And your goal is to make the postseason this year.
Yes, sir. We've actually made the postseason 2 years in a row, so hopefully to make it 3, and then the big goal is to win a postseason game this year. That's our big goal.
Right. You're always doing strategy, trying to learn each game. Do you watch YouTube videos to learn stuff?
All the time. And then my coaches, a couple of my coaches we talked about earlier, they are both former players. So they lean, and then I lean on them as far as finding other drills. And then we have a lot of our seniors come back. We had a great senior that graduated last year. She comes back when she can, and she played travel the whole 9. And so she teaches us some new drills every once in a while. So we're constantly trying to learn and evolve.
High school softball is a lot of fun, folks. It's free to the public.
Yes, sir. All our games are free.
You cannot beat that, folks. Good entertainment. The head softball coach, Dale Lamb, at Denby High School. His family, a lot of them went to Menchville, and of course, he grew up in the Williamsburg area. Dale, all the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Very good. I want to thank our guest today at our February anniversary show, 32nd year anniversary. Right here, Jeff Carr with the Norfolk Admirals and Dale Lamb, the head softball coach at Denby High School, for our great crew led by Ray Price and his wonderful staff. I'm Greg Bicaveras. For more, log on to nnpstv.com. For the entire crew, we'll talk to you soon.